Okay, so here we go. We're going to make this lentil soup. The first thing we're going to do, I have half a package of bacon here. So we're going to just give it very thin slices, as you can see. If you recall, last week I was making the rouladen. So for the rouladen I had used the first half of the bacon, the first half package. And here's a use for the second half, should you need one. So as soon as we get this sliced, and we're almost done, as you can see, the rest here, that's really fatty. There's hardly any meat on there. So, because I don't want too much fat in the soup, maybe I'll just use a couple of slices and that's it. We're not going to use the rest. It's too much fat. So, what we're going to do, we're just going to get this going real quick. You don't need to see this part. In a large pot, I have 2 tablespoons of butter melted, and I'm just going to put the bacon into the pot so we can get that frying. So, that's all you need to do with the bacon. So next we're going to need some carrots. So 2 large carrots would work. I don't have large carrots. These are fairly small. I mean, they're about the, not even the size of a whole hand, and they're very thin. So I've got 6 here. So we're just going to cut off the ends. You can keep the ends for compost. You can keep it to put it in your dog food. If you have a pet, cut off the ends. So now some of these, because they're a bit bigger, I'm just going to slice them in half, lengthwise, just the thicker ones. Do that again. The others are fine, they're small. Line them up. And we're just going to make nice thin slices. If you're fairly new to a kitchen, by all means do 1 carrot at a time. Probably less dangerous. So the carrots are done. Put those aside. As soon as the bacon is starting to crisp up, we will put the carrots in the pot. The carrots will take a little bit longer, so they'll go in first. We also need 2 large potatoes. So get a white potato, they're crispier and they're going to hold their shape better in the soup. If you get a yellow potato, they tend to go mushy rather quickly and they're going to break apart in the soup. What we're going to do with the potato, we're going to make slices about a centimeter thick. So about that thick, not even a centimeter, but you could go to a centimeter. Now that my potato has a flat edge, I'm going to put it on the flat edge and make slices that way. So there we go, we've got our slices. Take your slice and cut basically a fry. So you see from the end, it's basically a square. And now you're just going to dice the square. So there we have it. It's just a little square potato. That's what you want because, I mean, it's a soup. You're going to be eating it with a spoon. You don't want huge chunks of anything on your spoon. So we're just going to keep going with the 2 potatoes. There we go. Some more fries. That's one potato done. Give my bacon a quick stir. And now we're just going to slice the next potato. Same method. There we go. Now we will make our fries. Got our fries. Spin them around. And cut your cubes. And there we go. Make our fries. Spin it. Cube it. Make our fries. Spin it. Cube it. There we go. All done. So the potatoes are done, the carrots are done. And now we need an onion. So let me make some room here so you can see what I'm doing. I've got one large Vidalia onion. This is how I do it. I cut off the ends. Ends are off. Put this aside. And then what I do to peel an onion is I just cut down the side. I just score the onion down the side. And then you can just go in there and peel off that first layer, and there you go. I find that's the easiest way to do it. So now we're going to cut the onion in half, down the middle, put it on its end, slice once or twice, obviously depending how big the onion is, through. And now you're going to make cuts this way. All done. And now we're just going to have to slice down, and as you can see, it comes off in little pieces, which is just what you want. For this last one, because I didn't make the cuts all the way through, just make long cuts through there. Spin it like we did with the fries, and there we go. That's done. Do the other one. Let's cut down into it, put it down, make our cuts this way, and now we just need to again cut down the length of the onion, and we've got diced onion. Very simple. Alright, so there we have most of our mise en place done. The other thing you're going to need, but this will only go into the soup at the end, is a couple of wieners. These are wieners I got at a local deli. You could probably find wieners in a grocery store as well nowadays. Pilsner I know makes some. Brunt is another brand that I know makes good wieners. No, I would not use, what we call hot dogs. That's not quite the same as a good wiener. These are smoked, and the flavor is totally different, and it's going to impart something different to the soup. So get yourself just a couple of wieners, and then what you're going to do is just slice them into fairly small slices, because a wiener, like a hot dog, as it cooks, expands. So what you don't want is to have this in your soup for too long, because when they almost become round, like little meatballs, and that's not what you want. Then they're just really liquid, soaked, and don't taste as good. But like I said, these are only going to go into the soup the very last 5 minutes. And that's why the soup's not even simmering anymore. That's just to heat them through. So there we go. Our sausages are done, or our wieners. All done. All right, so what you will need in addition to that is 2 19-ounce cans of lentils, which I've got here. I've put them into a sieve and I've rinsed them. That's all. 2 full cans. And you will need 2 cartons of stock. You can use chicken stock or vegetable stock. I've done both. Both are fine. I happen to have chicken stock on hand, so that's what I'm going to use today. And there we go, we're good to go. So now we're going to go over to the pot and we'll start the cooking process. Did anybody else just see that little fly? I know that doesn't look good, but honestly, it's just a fly. We've all got them. There's nothing worse than that. All right, here we go. We're going to head over to the pot. So here we are, we're at the pot. Heat is on. Right now it's on a medium, but as you can see, I've got the bacon cooked. The reason we're using bacon is number one, for the flavor of the bacon, and also to get the drippings, because the drippings, along with the little bit of butter I have put in, is what we're going to fry our vegetables in. So first, let's get the onions in there. There we go. Onions are in. Now we're just going to cook this down just until the onions start to soften a bit. Doesn't have to be for too long. I know the onions cook quicker than the potatoes and carrots, and typically, you would put the potatoes and carrots in first to get them cooking, but what I like about putting the onions in first is that the reason we're using onions is for the flavor of the onions, and I feel by cooking down the onions and getting some of the liquid of the onions already extracted and into the rest of the baking fat and the butter, once we put the potatoes and carrots in there, that juice from the onions is already going to be used to cook the potatoes and the carrots with. So that flavor is going to go into the potatoes and the carrots. I feel like if I put the onions in at the end, that doesn't happen. So the reason actually, because you could be making a version without the bacon, if you're a vegetarian, just, I think I got a piece of sausage in there, I'm going to take that out. If you can't eat bacon, that's fine, don't use bacon, just use some other fat. If you're vegan, obviously you wouldn't be using butter, but I'm sure there's substitutes out there. And then this would be a totally vegetarian dish. The version I'm doing is a little more German inspired. That's why the bacon, the Germans actually, they don't really eat bacon like we do here for breakfast, bacon slices, fried bacon. They tend to cook more with bacon. They use it in dishes more as a flavoring tool. So that's why the bacon is in here, and that's also why at the end the wieners are going to be added. That also adds a more authentic German flavor. Now conversely, if you wanted to make the soup and then have it be more, let's say, Italian in flavor, I still use the bacon, but then at the end, when serving, I would, ladle the soup into a bowl and then cover it with a few shavings of fresh Parmesan and a little dribble of olive oil and perhaps a pinch of chili peppers if you like it a bit spicier. And then the flavor of the soup should come across much more Italian. If you prefer, a southern style, again, ladle the soup into a bowl. And then I would add some croutons, perhaps some jalapenos finely sliced. And then you'd have something that's more southern in character. So the onions are good, as you can see. They've cooked down a bit. They've exuded some of their juices. So now I'm going to add in the potatoes and the carrots. tossed. Now we're going to get that cooking. For this size pot, I probably cut too many potatoes, so I didn't put them all in. I probably put in 1.5 potatoes, but the carrots all went in. The carrots and the onions went in. So now we're going to salt and pepper. Again, like I've said before, I don't like to use my salt and pepper out of a bowl. I mean, I feel like I'm just cross-contaminating. So we're going to sprinkle some in.
Are you joking?
Hey guys, so I'm back. Big mistake, but I'm a newbie. Please forgive me. My device ran out of storage and I didn't notice. But since that happened, the recipe's not that complicated. I'm just going to walk you through it. So we were at the stage where we were adding salt and pepper. We did that. Then we poured in about 1/3 cup of the stock. And that's just so that we were able to break up the brown bits that were on the bottom of the pot. That's a lot easier to do with just a little bit of liquid instead of pouring in a whole bunch and then you're just sloshing everything around. After that, we poured in the 2 full cartons of stock. I use chicken stock. Again, if you're vegan or vegetarian, you can use vegetable stock. Give it a stir, and then I brought it up to a simmer. Once it was up to the simmer, I added 2 cups of water. Just because I find the stock on its own is a bit strong sometimes, the flavor. So I like to thin it out, and also I like my soup just to be a bit on the thinner side, not too thick. Once the soup is totally cooked, you can adjust the thickness again. Obviously you can't make it any thicker, but you can make it thinner by adding water. So now we're going to let this simmer for a good 20 minutes. Come back to the pot when that's done. And just try one of the potatoes or the carrots. If they're to your liking, if they're soft enough, then you're good to go. If not, then just keep it cooking, check it every 5 minutes or so until it's at the softness that you like. And once I'm at that stage, I'll come back and we'll finish it up. Alright folks, so the soup has been cooking exactly 20 minutes. I just had a taste. The potatoes are tender, the seasoning is good, I did not have to adjust anything. So at this stage, I've just turned off the heat. I'm going to drop in a tablespoon of butter. That's always a good tip to do when you're making a soup or a gravy. At the end, just add in a touch of butter. It helps change the viscosity of the soup or the liquid, and by that I mean it makes it thicker in a way that it stays on your tongue, if that makes any sense. It just lets the flavors linger in your mouth a bit longer. It makes the liquid not quite as thin if it were just pure stock or water. Just that little addition of butter. So, and now that that's melted, we're going to add in those 2 wieners. And like I said, at this stage the heat is off, but the soup is piping hot. So it's no different than making, your regular hot dog. You put it in a pot of water that's come to a boil, you turn off the heat. With a hot dog you would cover it and let it sit for 5 minutes. I don't need to cover this, it's hot enough, and it's a big quantity. So I'm just going to let it sit for 5 minutes until the wieners are heated through, and then we'll be ready to plate it. Here we have the plated, finished version of the lentil soup. As you can see, it's a nice hearty soup, very healthy. Like I said, very simple to make this vegetarian or vegan. Just use vegetable stock instead. Obviously don't use the bacon or wieners. You can use tofu or any other meat substitute. They must have meat substitute sausages even. That work just fine. And you can adjust, once you have the technique down, you can adjust the flavoring. I mean, obviously it's a lentil soup, it has to have lentils. But let's say you don't like carrots, you can use any other hard vegetable, celery or turnip. Just make sure that, the pieces are fairly small because you're eating it with a spoon, so It should be very small, fine dice. And there you have it. Sprinkled a little bit of parsley over the top, and we're good to go. I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and because of my snafu with the taping, I'm going to put detailed instructions in the description box below, just so that in case something did not turn up on the video, that you have the instructions to follow. Again, it's very simple. Hope you enjoyed the soup. Give it a try, and I'll see you next time. Take care.